You know when you pick up those Kindle Unlimited books that have like the guy on the cover that's like shirtless and he's like, you know that you're picking it up and you know what you're getting into. It's not going to be a good book, but you're just reading it because it's been a while. Hi, my name is Reagan. Welcome to today's video. It's going to be my delayed May wrap up. There has been a lot going on. I just graduated high school. I got sick for my graduation, a lot of other things, so I was unable to film this until today, halfway through June 14th, but I'm getting it out because these are my favorite videos to film. In the month of May, I read 7 books. I was in a bit of a reading slump that I think I'm finally emerging from, maybe, knock on wood, because I don't want to go back into it, but that definitely has affected a lot of my ratings over the past few months. Like, I've seriously been in a reading slump for I feel like 6 months, and it's just really bad, but I think I'm finally emerging. I read some pretty good books this month. The first book I read was Secretly Yours by Tessa Bailey. I've come to find out that Tessa Bailey, I think, is one of my favorite authors. I love everything she writes. It's not necessarily a 5-star every time, but I always know that I can depend on her for a solid read. Secretly Yours by Tessa Bailey is the first in her new series duology. She wrote It Happened One Summer and Hook, Line, and Sinker. It follows Hallie and, what's his face? I'd say it's Justin. Julian. I have a hard time remembering the guy characters' names because they all are like the same name basically. So it's Hallie and Julian, and it's like small town, wine country, Napa, like that kind of vibe. This one follows Hallie and she's like a gardener, and Julian, who's like returning to Napa, he's like a professor and he's very like strict on schedule kind of a guy, and Hallie is like crazy, chaotic, a mess, doesn't have her life together. So it's kind of like opposite attract. Julian has just arrived back in Napa after being like a professor and everything. He's got this important job and he's staying in his mother's guest house. His last name is Voss. So in Napa, they have like this big wine company, winery, vineyard. Like, they're really well known. Hallie is their gardener, and so she has been assigned to work on the vineyard to kind of revamp it. Julian is writing a novel, and her process of revamping kind of gets in his way. Something I think Tessa Bailey is kind of exploring more with this new series is mental illness, because I just finished the second one. In this one, she dealt with a lot of anxiety in the main character Julian, and in the next one, it was PTSD. The anxiety representation was something I've never really read from her before, but it was super cute, super summery. I love like the wine vineyard like kind of vibe, like Martha's Vineyard almost. It was really adorable. I love the relationship between the two of them. It was like my perfect like grumpy kind of sunshine vibe. I personally still love the grumpy sunshine, so I really enjoyed it. I don't know if I said this, but I rated it a 4.5 stars, which is my highest rating since my first book of the year, I think. I really enjoyed it, so I definitely recommend starting this new series if you haven't already. My second read, which was King of Wrath by Anna Huang. This is also a companion series to the Twisted series, which is super big, but this is the companion, the first book. It's following Dante. He comes into play in like the 4th book of the Twisted series, and this is like an arranged marriage, kind of like marriage of convenience vibe. It has the same vibe as the Twisted series. It's Dante and Vivian. There's this blackmail element, and Dante's like forced into this marriage with Vivian, who is like new wealth versus old wealth. I honestly don't even remember what happened in this book. I gave it a 2.5 stars. I think this is like the height of my reading slump. It took me so long to get through this. I was like, I want to be done with it. I think that it also has something to do with the book and not just me. It didn't have a whole lot of plot, so I wasn't interested in the characters. Weren't that fleshed out almost. You know when you pick up those Kindle Unlimited books that have like the guy on the cover that's like shirtless and he's like, you know that you're picking it up and you know what you're getting into. It's not going to be a good book, but you're just reading it because because like that's the vibe that this gave, and that's kind of unfortunate because while those books can be fun, they're not very memorable, and so that's kind of what this was. Like, it wasn't super memorable, but it wasn't bad. I'm excited to read the second book in the series because it follows the best friend of Dante, and he was really interesting, so maybe I'll like that one more, but this one just wasn't for me. Next, I actually read Happy Place by Emily Henry, and I read this on audio. I ended up giving this a 4 stars, but I think I would honestly bump it down to a 3.5. I think this is also one that my reading slump heavily affected. I typically really enjoy Emily Henry books, and she's one of my other favorite authors. It was good. I think that I rushed through it a little bit because I was like, I haven't read. By this point, it was May 20th, right? And so I was like, I haven't read any books this month. I need to finish a book. So I was kind of just like rushing through the audiobook. First audiobook I could get a hold of. I didn't buy the physical copy because I want to wait for it in paperback. So I was just kind of rushing through the book to get through the book. And I think that definitely impacted my rating a lot. So that's kind of unfortunate. But even though it wasn't my favorite Emily Henry book, it was still very good. It follows this group of friends on their last trip to their summer lake house or beach house. I don't even know. I think it was a lake beach. I don't know. Doesn't matter. Anyways, their summer vacation home, and it's this big group of friends, and the main male character, I don't remember their names. The main male character and our main female character had been previously engaged, and they separated, but their friends do not know they're separated, and so they go on this trip, this one last trip together. They have to pretend that they're still together because they don't want their friends' last trip to be ruined. A lot of people have been saying that it gives more literary fiction, this Emily Henry book, than some of her other ones, and I fully agree with that. It really heavily focused on the friend group aspect of it. The romance was still enjoyable. It had like 2 timelines, so it was past when they were, I'm pretty sure, I could be wrong honestly, but it was like past when they had been engaged or were like meeting and like the relationship was developing, and then present when the relationship was redeveloping, so you're following like development of 2 relationships just from different times. But honestly, like I said, it wasn't my favorite. I would definitely recommend. While I was reading it, I could tell it was a really good book, but I was just not in it, and I was not in the book. So that's my bad. We have Everything I Never Told You by Celeste Ng, which is a book that I read for school. I fully annotated it. I love when I fully annotate a book. It makes me love holding it. But can you see all those? I just do pen most of the time when I'm annotating. But this is a book I read for my school project. I gave it 3 stars. This is about the Lee family. It's a Chinese American family. The book opens and their daughter, Lydia, is dead. And Lydia's like the golden child. She's the favorite, clearly the favorite. The other kids know it. We're investigating Lydia's death. Is it a murder? Is it a suicide? Every single family member is trying to figure it out, and you get every single family member's point of view. And so you're going through the book, and every single family member has different suspicions and blames themselves or blames a certain person for this murder. So you're trying to figure out what really happened. That makes it sound like a murder mystery, but it's really not. Well, I guess technically it could be, but it's more focusing on like the family dynamics, I would say. Heavy themes of racism. It's the 1950s. It's an interracial marriage. I don't know why I just had like a brain fart, but so we're struggling with that. We're struggling with each kid's different feelings of fitting in. So like Lydia's a golden child, but was she actually did she actually behave like her parents thought, or was she pretending, kind of thing? So it's just this big mystery of family dynamics, and that's as well as I'm gonna explain it. Honestly, it was a good book, but it didn't give me that feeling. It was definitely a good book, but it didn't give me that feeling. So 3 stars. Next was Hood Feminism by Mickey Kendall. This is a book I've been trying to read for a long time, but it's very dense. It's a heavy topic. It's hard to get through, but I finally got through it. I listened to this on audio, and I had read half of it a few months ago, and my audiobook loan expired, so then I picked it up back where I had left off. It's about feminism but intersectional feminism and like that kind of approach that you don't see typically a lot in the media. And so it was really hard and really dense. I learned a lot from it. I didn't rate this book because I didn't feel like it's fair to rate like a nonfiction book. I don't know, it's weird because I don't read a lot of nonfiction. If it's like explaining to you a topic, how are you gonna rate it? Because it's not like a story that was created, it's just like a topic and it's explained. It's like if I were to rate a John Green video, like he's informing me on something, what am I rating? You know what I mean? My only thing is, if you're new to books like this one that deal with topics like racism and feminism and that kind of stuff, I wouldn't start out with this because it's a harder one to understand, because intersectional, is that what it's called? Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's intersection. Anyway, it's not an approach to feminism you see a lot in media, so it is going to challenge your thinking and make you reevaluate your feminist values, I guess. So I wouldn't start out with this, but it is a really, really good book. It was very interesting and I learned a lot. Practice Makes Perfect by Sarah Adams. I've seen this and When in Rome going around literally everywhere. Unfortunately, I have not read When in Rome. I read them backwards. For whatever reason, I decided that I was going to read them backwards. And then I heard a bunch of people say that you shouldn't do that, and I had already done it, so I was like, well, too late. But I am going to read When in Rome eventually. The first book, When in Rome, is about this boy. He's like a baker, I think. And this pop star. Pop star comes to the small town, meets the boy, falls in love, whatever. This book follows the boy's sister, what's her name? Annie, and the bodyguard of the pop star named Will, the sexy bodyguard. It was really cute. It's very rom-com-y, like YA rom-com. So it was really cute. Annie is like the good girl of town. That's her reputation, but she doesn't really want to be. She owns this flower shop. She's super cute, super summery. And then Will, the bodyguard, he's got this bad boy reputation. The sexy bodyguard, the good girl, the bad boy. They don't really go together, right? Well, they do, you know, because it's a rom-com. They fall in love. I rated it a 3 stars. Like, it wasn't my favorite, but it was a pretty good rom-com, quick read. It wasn't life-changing, but it wasn't a waste of time. I liked the characters, I liked the romance. It was small town vibes, very summery, good read. Solid read. Last but not least, I'm getting tired and my voice is getting strained. Can you tell? Meet Me at the Lake by Carly Fortune. This is the second book. Oh, the first one was Every Summer After. Don't think they're connected, but the covers match up, which is cute. If they are connected, didn't even notice. So this follows Fern and also Will again. So I read 2 Will books back to back. That's why I have a hard time keeping the male characters straight in rom-com sometimes, because they're all the same name. It's like a 2 timeline thing again. Kind of like her first book. Fern and Will spent this day together and she worked in a coffee shop somewhere in Toronto, I think. I think it's Toronto. Canada, big city, you know. So they spent this day together in this coffee shop. And they like really enjoyed spending this day, but they both had significant others. So they were off limits. No. After this day, they agree that they're going to meet back in a year. In a year, Will doesn't show up. Fast forward, present timeline. Fern is working at her mom's resort on the lake that she did not want to work at. She was very against lake life. Apparently. It's a like 180 from what she expected her life to be. Will randomly shows up and is like, yo, I'm supposed to work here and help you. Your mom hired me. Her mom had died, by the way. He was supposed to help. Her mom hired him for whatever reason. He shows up and she's like, well, where were you 5 years ago, or whatever the timeline was. And so it follows their timeline of them spending the day together and then Will showing up. And why, you kind of have to figure out why he didn't show up, what was going on. And they're both kind of feeling out how their lives are now and if they would still fit together. Also super summery, cute read. I rated this a 4-star. I really enjoyed reading it, but I read it pretty quickly. It wasn't like super memorable. Like, I haven't thought about it since. I'm not a fan of second chance romance. It's like whenever I read one, I'm kind of like, me, that's all. Good Lord. Those are all the books I read in the month of May. I hope you enjoyed. Sorry for getting this out super late, but I'll do better for June. Go check out some of my other videos down below. I hope you enjoyed. Have a great day.